Now another topic is synapse. First definition: it is a junction between two neuron. Okay, it is a junction between two neuron is known as a synapse. There is a no anatomical connection. There is a only physiological contiguity, means contact without connection. So it is connected only functionally. Word synapse was first introduced by Sarrington. Now functions of synapse: transmission of impulses to and fro from periphery to central nervous system and vice versa. Modification of impulses, integration of impulses, or changing or blocking of impulses. Higher function of CNS like learning, memory, etc. are possible due to synapse. Types of synapse: anatomical and physiological. Anatomical types: exodendritic, axon of one neuron, synapse with dendrite of others. Exosomatic, axon of one neuron, synapse with soma or cell body of others. Exoaxonic, synapse between two axons. Physiological type: chemical synapse, electrical synapse, and combination of both chemical and electrical synapse known as a conjoint synapse. Difference between chemical and electrical synapse. Chemical synapse, name itself suggests that there is a release of some chemical, for example neurotransmitter. In electrical synapse, transmission is mainly due to gap junction. In gap junction, there is a low resistance bridges through which there is a passing of ion occurs. So in chemical synapse, transmission is by neurotransmitter, and most of synapse are of this type. Electrical synapse seen in some places, for example retina, olfactory bulb, hippocampus, and cerebral cortex. Chemical synapse conduct impulse in one direction only. Electrical synapse conduct impulse in both the direction. Chemical synapse is more vulnerable to fatigue on repeated stimulation, hypoxia, and pH changes. Electrical synapse is insensitive to hypoxia. Slow speed causing synaptic delay as it allows for large number of synapses per neuron. Electrical synapse, rapid efficient transmission with no delay as not too many synapses per neuron. So these are the differences between chemical and electrical synapse. Now anatomical classification. Exodendritic synapse is most common, also known as a type 1 synapse. Now this type of synapse seen in motor neuron of spinal cord, excitatory synapse in cerebral cortex, and climbing fiber of cerebellum. Exosomatic synapse is less common, also known as a type 2 synapse, seen in motor neuron of spinal cord, basket cell of cerebellum, and autonomic ganglia. Exonic synapse is least common, seen in spinal cord. Dendrodendritic synapse is rarely seen in olfactory bulb between mitral and granular cell. Chemical synapse. Characteristic features: conduct impulse or information only in one direction, more vulnerable to fatigue on repeated stimulation, chemical synaptic transmission slower than velocity of nerve conduction, resulting in synaptic delay. Now this chemical synapse, there is a two types. type 1 and type 2. Structure of chemical synapse. Synapse between the axon of one neuron and dendrite of other neuron, showing following characteristic features. Synaptic knob or button. So this is synaptic knob or button. Presynaptic membrane. So covering of this knob is known as a presynaptic membrane. Then postsynaptic process. So this portion is known as a postsynaptic process. Then postsynaptic membrane. Covering of this process is known as a postsynaptic membrane. So this one is postsynaptic membrane covering postsynaptic process. Synaptic cleft. Space between presynaptic membrane and postsynaptic membrane is known as a synaptic cleft. Receptor protein. Postsynaptic membrane contains receptor proteins. Now details. Synaptic knob or button. It contains large number of mitochondria and synaptic vesicles. Now this synaptic vesicle contain neurotransmitter substances and other protein to bind neurotransmitter to the vesicle. Now this synaptic vesicle, there are different types. First, a round or spherical clear vesicle have excitatory neurotransmitter like acetylcholine and glutamate. Second one is flat clear vesicle have a inhibitory neurotransmitter like GABA, that is gamma aminobutyric acid and glycine. Small dense core vesicle have catecholamines, epinephrine, non-epinephrine and dopamine, and large dense core vesicle contain peptide neurotransmitter like endorphin and enkephalin. So there are different type of synaptic vesicle. Now presynaptic membrane, as we know that it is a axonal membrane lining the knobs. Okay, axonal membrane lining the knobs. Now inner aspect of presynaptic membrane contains zones of dense cytoplasm, cleft, small gap between presynaptic and postsynaptic membrane is known as a synaptic cleft. It is about 20 to 40 nanometer wide and it is filled with extracellular fluid and some glycoproteins. Now postsynaptic process. So this is postsynaptic process. Now region of receiving neuron where synaptic knob synapses. Now postsynaptic membrane. It is a covering of postsynaptic process. It contains large number of receptor proteins which protrude outward in the synaptic cleft. Now receptor proteins, two types, ion channel receptor protein and enzymatic type of receptor protein. Ion channel receptor proteins, these line the ion channels like sodium channels, potassium channels and chloride channels. Neurotransmitter released in the cleft causes opening of channels by reacting with these receptor proteins. So neurotransmitter when released from the presynaptic membrane, they binds with the ion channel receptor proteins. Now opening of these channels, it depends on type of neurotransmitter. For example, if excitatory neurotransmitter like acetylcholine is released, there is a opening of sodium channels. But when there is a release of inhibitory neurotransmitter like gamma aminobutyric acid, there is a opening of either potassium channel or chloride channels. Now second is enzymatic type of receptor proteins. After binding with the neurotransmitter, there is a activation of cellular gene for manufacture of additional receptor protein channel in the membrane. And another event is activation of protein kinase, which decreases the number of receptor protein channels in the membrane. Again, it depends on the type of neurotransmitter. When excitatory neurotransmitter is released, it binds with the receptor protein, means enzymatic type of receptor protein, and cause activation of cellular gene, and there is a manufacture of additional receptor protein channels. When inhibitory neurotransmitter is released, it binds with the enzymatic type of receptor protein and cause activation of protein kinase, which decreases the number of receptor and protein channel in the membrane. Now, difference between chemical synapse type 1 and type 2. Structure is asymmetric in type 1 and symmetric in type 2. Cleft is wider, it is about 3 nanometer in type 1 and it is about 20 nanometer in type 2. Thickening of postsynapic membrane is marked in type 1. Thickening of postsynapic membrane is less marked in type 2. Dense extracellular material in synaptic cleft present in type 1. Dense extracellular material in synaptic cleft absent. In type 1, shape of vesicle is small spherical and dense cord. Here in type 2, there is a fleck elongated vesicles. Neurotransmitter released are acetylcholine, glutamate or serotonin by spherical vesicle, and dense core vesicle release noradrenaline, adrenaline and dopamine. So mostly excitatory neurotransmitter are released. So action is mostly, effect is mostly excitatory, and type of synapse is exodendritic. In type 2, neurotransmitter release are gamma aminobutyric acid and glycine. They are inhibitory neurotransmitter. So type of effect is mostly inhibitory and type of synapse usually exosomatic. So these are the basic difference between type 1 and type 2 chemical synapse. Now chemical synaptic transmission. So there is a sequence of events for synaptic transmission. First, release of neurotransmitter. Second is development of either EPSP or IPSP. EPSP means excitatory postsynaptic potential and IPSP is inhibitory postsynaptic potential. Then removal of neurotransmitter from the synaptic cleft and then development of action potential. So these are the sequence of events. So first event is a release of neurotransmitter. So first step is action potential, arrival of action potential at the axon terminal. Now due to this arrival of action potential, there is a depolarization of presynaptic membrane occurs. There is a depolarization of presynaptic membrane. Now due to this depolarization of this presynaptic membrane, there is a opening of calcium channels. And due to this opening, there is an entry of calcium inside. So there is an increased calcium level inside the cytoplasm of presynaptic membrane. Now due to this increased level of calcium, there is a sliding of vesicle towards the presynaptic membrane. So this step is known as a docking. Okay, vesicle move to the membrane and there is a docking. Now what is docking? It is a process by which vesicle attach with the membrane. Okay. Next step is priming, process by which vesicle become ready to discharge their neurotransmitter content into the synaptic cleft. Now, before this, there is a attachment of this neurotransmitter vesicle to the receptor, this presynaptic membrane. So, how this neurotransmitter vesicle attach with presynaptic membrane? So, this is mechanism of fusion of exocytosis and vesicle release of neurotransmitter. So, there is an involvement of V-snare protein known as a synaptobremin in the vesicle membrane. It basically attach with the T-snare protein, locking with the T-snare protein syntaxin, which is present in the cell membrane. Another protein is SNAP25. Full form is synaptosomal nerve associated protein. It is a component of trans-snare complex. And another is N-ethyl melamide sensitive fusion protein, NSF. Is an enzyme protein involved in membrane fusion. So now you can see in this figure, this is neurotransmitter vesicles, and this green color line is synaptobremin. Okay, and another protein you can see in yellow color, that is SNAP25, synaptosomal nerve associated protein. And another important protein is syntaxin, which is shown in this figure, this red color line. Okay, so there is a locking of this syntaxin and synaptobremin, and after that there is a exocytosis process. Okay, exocytosis process, and there is a release of neurotransmitter into the cleft. Now after release of neurotransmitter, now these vesicles are again reused, so there is a recycling of neurotransmitter vesicles. Okay, so how this recycling occurs? So once vesicle has discharged its content, means neurotransmitter, into the cleft, it is coated with this neurotransmitter vesicle is coated with the clathrin molecule and get detached from the presynaptic membrane. Okay, now second step is, now clathrin molecule are separated from the vesicle. Now this vesicle fuses with the early endosomes, and from here new vesicles are formed from early endosomes. Now this newly formed vesicles now ready to store newly formed neurotransmitter. So this is the recycling of vesicles. Now clinical importance of this botulinum toxin and tetanus toxin. Botulinum toxin, there are various types, but type A and B act on SNAP25 and prevent the interaction between synaptobremin and syntaxin and prevents docking and priming of vesicles. So ultimately it prevents the release of neurotransmitter substances. Another botulinum toxin are C, then B, D, F and G. Botulinum toxin C acts on syntaxin and prevents its attachment with synaptobremin. Another group is botulinum toxin B, D, F, G act on synaptobremin and prevents its attachment with syntaxin. Thus, botulinum toxin produces flaccid paralysis by inhibiting release of acetylcholine at neuromuscular junction. Now, another toxin is tetanus toxin acts on synaptobrevin and prevents its attachment with syntaxin. Tetanus toxin prevents release of other neurotransmitter from vesicle at different synapses in central nervous system and therefore produces spastic paralysis. Now, importance of this botulinum toxin. It is used for treatment of eclasia cardia. Now, what is eclasia cardia? It is a condition in which there is an incomplete ileus relaxation. Ileus is lower esophageal sphincter relaxation. So, there is an increased ileus tone and lack of peristalsis of esophagus. So, in this condition, botulinum is injected in lower esophageal sphincter to relax the smooth muscle, because as we know that botulinum toxin basically required means mechanism is to prevent release of neurotransmitter. So ultimately there is no effect of neurotransmitter, so there is a relaxation of smooth muscle. Another importance is it is used to decrease the facial wrinkles by causing relaxation of facial muscles. Mechanism is same. So just revise the first step, release of neurotransmitter. So first arrival of action potential at the presynaptic membrane, then depolarization of presynaptic membrane, opening of calcium channels, calcium influx inside the cytoplasm of presynaptic membrane, then sliding of vesicles occurs, and finally docking and priming of vesicles, and then exocytosis of vesicles and release of neurotransmitter substance into the cleft. Now only one type of neurotransmitter is released from all terminals of single neuron. This was first propounded by Dale. It is called Dale's phenomena. So after release of this neurotransmitter, now binding of neurotransmitter to the post-synaptic receptor protein, and then there is a development of EPSP and IPSP, excitatory postsynaptic potential and inhibitory postsynaptic potential in postsynaptic membrane. Synaptic delay, it is a time lapse less than 1 millisecond occurring between arrival of nerve impulse and at the presynaptic terminal, and effect of neurotransmitter on postsynaptic membrane is known as a synaptic delay. Now recording of EPSP, excitatory postsynaptic potential. Now this EPSP is a local response. It can be studied by inserting a microelectrode into ventral horn of spinal cord. So this is ventral horn. Ventral horn of spinal cord. And now this electrode is connected with CRO, cathode ray oscilloscope. It is like a TV monitor. Now development of excitatory postsynaptic potential or inhibitory postsynaptic potential. Now both excitatory and inhibitory receptor exist on postsynaptic membrane. So when excitatory neurotransmitter binds with this receptor, excitatory receptor protein, then there is a development of EPSP. When inhibitory neurotransmitter binds with the receptor protein, there is a hyperpolarization and it causes IPSP. So in EPSP there is a depolarization and in IPSP there is a hyperpolarization. So there is a negative deflection. Excitatory postsynaptic potential EPSP, it is mostly due to glutamate, which is most common excitatory neurotransmitter in CNS. Magnitude of EPSP is 8 millivolt. Depolarization start with latency of 0.5 millisecond, rises to peak in 2 millisecond and then declines with half-life of 4 millisecond. Now ionic basis of EPSP. So first, release of neurotransmitter. Here excited neurotransmitter is released, binds with specific receptor protein present on postsynaptic membrane. There is an opening of ligand-gated channels on postsynaptic membrane. As a result, sodium ions diffuse inward and there is a depolarization of postsynaptic membrane. So very small area of postsynaptic membrane develops increased sodium permeability. So only brief depolarization occurs. Now conduction of EPSP. EPSP does not transmit over the cell. It can depolarize adjacent membrane. This occurs passively due to local currents which are set up. So it is a basically local current. It is not propagated like action potential. Summation of EPSP. EPSP is graded response. It does not follow all or none law like action potential. It shows temporal and spatial summation. So now temporal summation. It occurs when repeated stimuli are applied at very short intervals. The next stimulus adds to the previous postsynaptic potential, producing a large response. So you can see in this graph there is a repeated stimulation of excitatory nerve. So all these effects are added up and gives a larger response. Okay, so this is known as a temporal summation. In spatial summation, it occurs when postsynaptic membrane receive impulse from large number of presynaptic terminal simultaneously. The effect of all impulses are added up and enough transmitter substance is released to cause greater response. So here EPSP is produced due to stimulus at multiple synapses and all these effects are added up and give a larger response. So this is spatial summation. So both type of summation occurs simultaneously in neuronal pool. When the temporal or more commonly spatial summation bring membrane potential of cell to the firing level and action potential is fired. Now action potential is able to propagate in postsynaptic neuron. Now another terminology is IPSP, inhibitory postsynaptic potential. Hyperpolarization of postsynaptic membrane is produced by inhibitory neurotransmitter release into the cleft. The most common inhibitory neurotransmitter within the CNS are glycine and GABA. IPSP produced by stimulation of certain presynaptic fibers which regularly initiate hyperpolarizing response in spinal motor neurons. Ionic basis. Inhibitory neurotransmitter is released in IPSP. There is an opening of either potassium channel or chloride channel in the postsynaptic membrane. As we know that when there is an opening of potassium channels, there is an efflux of potassium. Means potassium goes outside from inside to outside. So ultimately there is an increased negativity inside the membrane. And when there is an opening of chloride channels, there is an entry of chloride ion inside. So again there is an increased negativity inside the membrane. So it leads to hyperpolarization. So there is a development of IPSP due to hyperpolarization. Now value of IPSP, magnitude is 2 millivolt, latency 2.0 millisecond to 4 millisecond and then returning towards the resting membrane potential with half-life of 3 millisecond. Thank you.